Yes, I would like to just say welcome to everyone, and I want to thank Chairman Allen for coming to join us to help us kick off our Ethics Week, and I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Charles Allen. I am the chair of the Council's Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety, and underneath that, I have the honor to be able to have oversight and work with our Vega leadership. So thanks so much, and welcome everybody to Vega's Ethics Week 2020. I think back on it, and there are so many ways that our world has changed over the last 8 months. I don't think any of us are where we expected to be 8 months ago and where we are today. It's a new normal of virtual meetings, virtual school, which is also taking place 20 feet away with my daughter right now, virtual happy hours, virtual elections, and virtual legislating. I've even officiated 2 virtual weddings this year. And I had to say to them, there's nothing virtual about the wedding. It's a real wedding. It feels a little different than what we normally have had. In many ways, disruptions like this pandemic, though, they're forcing us to confront the why and the how of government. Speaking for the council, for example, why we structure our legislative process the way we do, and frankly, how it also can privilege those with access or the loudest voices. Disruptions also force us to balance competing interests, like the need for government to be open and transparent with the very real exigencies of daily operations during a crisis. At the council, we're still actively in our legislative session, and many of our operations have adjusted well to this new environment. I'd argue some have not, but many are going to need to evolve, and the answers aren't necessarily even clear yet as to how. And thinking about these questions and all of the interests, they require us to weigh several things. What does an open legislative process look like now that anyone with a computer anywhere in the world can testify at a council hearing? We're also finding, of course, when we create a virtual platform, it's more accessible for many different people. But then again, who is it accessible for and who is it most accessible for? Should FOIA be told during the pandemic? As government staff are teleworking, they're not in the office to search through physical paper records or inaccessible databases. But if we were to believe that, how long, and what would be a reasonable expectation? Should it be told for all requests, even those that could be completed virtually? As I think about our restaurants, our small businesses throughout the district, they're struggling to stay afloat. Should the council change its rules to allow council members to encourage the community on social media to patronize those businesses? Does that change if we're close to an election? And how do government employees, many of whom are simultaneously working from home and now homeschooling, separate being on the clock as an employee from being on the clock as a parent, when in reality we're doing both? Literally 30 seconds ago, I'm helping my daughter do work and then switch and jump right back in, and I'll be right back helping her again. So how does that actually impact the use, though, of government resources? So now is the perfect time to reflect on these changes and intentionally redesign government around what we've learned thus far during the pandemic. It's also a good time for us to re-educate ourselves, because what we also tend to see during a crisis is people start cutting corners, whether that's just because the need to quickly get a procurement out the door or overlooking potential conflicts of interest. We also need to ensure that we don't let this important moment in our country's political future bleed into the independent and nonpartisan operations of government, especially as that division between work and home seems to have lost all meaning in some times. So I want to thank Vega for hosting this week of workshops and presentations focused on ethics and open meetings in this virtual world. This topic is incredibly timely, it's incredibly important, and it's one that we can't afford not to be thinking about. I know Vega has a full agenda of trainings planned, and I encourage you all to take advantage of this opportunity to learn more about how the entire district can be committed to the highest ethical standards and pursue open government and transparency. And I think this time also calls us all to be creative about how we can transform government to make it more open, more nimble, more innovative, more efficient, and truly representative. So again, I want to thank you all very much for having me here. Thank you for letting me say a few words to help kick off this week. And I'll turn it right back over to Director Ford. So thanks again, and great to see everybody.
Okay, I'll just get started. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Councilmember Allen, for your commitment to government transparency and your leadership during these times that we find ourselves in the virtual world. I'd like to welcome all the participants and thank you all for participating in 2020 Ethics Week. Openness, transparency, and ethics, and how we conduct our government business, as the council member just mentioned, is of utmost importance as we operate in this virtual world. The Office of Open Government is trying, and I think successfully, to make sure that our processes are transparent, open, and available to the public, especially in our meetings and as well as our operations. During Ethics Week, the Office of Open Government will provide training on our FOIA advisory opinions and how FOIA impacts social media use. We will also be offering a course on the Open Meetings Act. I look forward to seeing many of you during these virtual trainings, and thank you for your commitment to government transparency during these times. If you have any questions during Ethics Week or any other time, please visit our website, www.open-dc.gov and www.vega.dc.gov. Thank you so much, and now I'll turn it over to Director Ford.
Hold on, my video appears not to want to work, so I just need one moment.
Okay. These are challenges we're all facing as we move to virtual. Technology is mostly on our side, but sometimes we have technical difficulties, and that's normal. So I will also take this opportunity to say, if you're having any of those issues, OCTO is available to assist you with the numerous technical issues that may arise. And we also have a technical person here, Kavan Bridges, and he is our IT specialist. So if you're having any difficulties with meetings or anything else, please feel free to contact us, and this information is on our website. And I'll actually put both of those websites in the chat for everyone.
Sorry, 1 minute. I'm going to start in 1 second. Hold on. I apologize. It's just I went into the office this morning, and in 441, all of the internet is down, including the phones. So I had to come back home. So like Chairperson Allen mentioned, we are all getting by the best we can this morning, I see. So I will get this going in 1 second. All right, let's see if I can get it going here. All right. Victory. Thank you all so much. I had to, of course, log in and log out. I don't have a lot of PowerPoint slides, but I do have a lot to share with you. Again, I want to welcome you. And first, just thank the board, our chairperson, Norma Hutchison, and our other board members, Darren Sobin, Chip Nottingham, Felice Smith, and Board Member Tucker for all of their support this year. As we have been discussing, this has been quite a year in 2020. Who would think that we would all be working virtually and taking our operations remote, as well as who would think that we would be having casual conversations with our friends and family about the Hatch Act. So this is a year, as has been mentioned, of taking a time to reflect. And so OGE has used this chance to not only take all of our operations remote, which we were able to do fairly successfully, but to work through all of our functions, which are to administer the code of conduct by providing advice and education. And we also do enforcement work, of course, as you are well aware, and do trainings. And so we have continued, in fact, many of our functions are more robust this year in keeping with the themes of trying to reflect and get out to more employees. And so next slide. I think it's just a welcome and introduction. Next slide, please. I gave a brief welcome. I want to kind of give you an introduction of our year to date so you can have a sense of what we have been doing here at OGE over the past calendar year. I've been here for 9 months, and thus far I want to give you accurate statistics so you can get a sense of how much we've been able to assist and serve district employees. So far this year we have answered 349 advice calls. And we have had 1,174 people take the PeopleSoft training online. In contrast, last year only 429 employees took the ethics training online. So district employees are taking advantage of this opportunity to receive training, and in particular ethics training, and we are quite pleased to see that. And I want to thank all of you for your efforts to encourage employees to go ahead and receive ethics training. We have conducted 35 live trainings, and at this point last year we're about this rate, maybe a little less, but we've been able to continue going forward with our training efforts without discontinuing any of our services. And so this year for us has been productive. We've managed to continue to enhance our investigations function to move more effectively. We have brought on a new general counsel, Rashi Raj, who you'll be meeting later this week. And I want to also announce to all of you that Ashley Cooks has been promoted to supervisory attorney for advice and education. So Ashley will be leading, as she has been, but more formally engaging in our advice function. And that leads me to sort of the focus of the talk today and the ethics update. Although our enforcement efforts are necessary and may receive the most attention, we believe that the cornerstone of a robust and healthy ethical culture involves education and outreach. Hence, we thought it was important. Thank you, Ashley. So I'm just going to go through our strategic plan and talk about sort of what led us to come to these sort of goals and focuses, and how COVID-19 shaped some of those things. Even before this started, Vega has, in OGE, there are 3 employees, 3 investigators, and 3 attorneys. So those 6 people do the investigations for potentially 34,000, maybe even more employees. And what we learned is that while we might have some knowledge, or people may know some things about us, they know we exist, we've only existed for 8 years. And so we went to we did outreach with DCHR and provided a training, and we showed a video that we show. You've all seen it, Ask Miss Ethics. Well, out of the 80-something to 100 people there, only about a third had seen it. And if you think about it, looking across the district government, I'm confident that more employees have been here longer than 8 years. And so many employees' tenure precedes our existence that we think it's important that we go back out and reconnect with our major partner agencies who deal with employee conduct. Hence, you'll see we're providing a training discussion about the investigative efforts of DCHR, the Office of Human Rights, and the Inspector General, how those things connect to what we do here at Vega. So I think that will be informative in helping you to understand our functions, but also giving you some sense of who to reach out to when issues arise. We also think it's important to engage with our agencies because some agencies have their own regulations, and we have an obligation to know what those regulations are in each agency in order to best do risk assessment. And so part of what we're doing here at OGE is really working through ethics counselors, and they're key to our outreach efforts to spread the message that we need to be looking for our points of risk assessment. And as the council member mentioned, because of COVID-19, we all have shifting risk assessment. So say you work in an agency and your biggest concern might be that most of your employees, because of the nature of their work, have a lot of outside employment. But you are always working with those employees to ensure that they can do that ethically. Well, perhaps because of the nature of their work and the public health crisis, they now need to take on even more duties. And some of those duties might involve perhaps providing services to the district. Those questions, that the need to meet, emergent needs, the need to do things quickly, the need to adjust to, as the councilman mentioned, many employees being home means that we need to change the way that we engage with district employees. So although this has presented many challenges this year, we also think this has been a great opportunity, and the numbers bear that out. We also are going to engage in more program inquiry. I referenced getting to know what your agency does. We want to know what your business is. It's our business to know your business so we can assist you. Launching a new program, call Bega and ask us about partnership issues. Changing employees' duties, some concerns that relate to that. Having employees work to assist in some other government function. Questions about how you can support your employees and expand that support while they're teleworking. Those are calls that you can bring to us as well as to your agency ethics counselor. And so we are going about systematically and working with agencies. We kicked things off by working with the Office of Procurement. We have had 2 sessions now that were very productive, and we intend to produce specific training materials that are aimed at training district employees about the importance of procurement, as well as making sure that all procurement professionals are aware of what their obligations are and can learn to issue spot for particular issues. And then another way that we are expanding our outreach is this very week, before we did Ethics Day, if you may recall last year, the theme was cultivating a culture of ethics. That is still the theme, but in the virtual world, and we'll talk about how we want to get to that, but we've expanded it. And so, again, a challenge in that we can't provide you with a cool mask and Bega branded hand sanitizer, but we will see each other in the future and get to exchange those things. But what we can do is offer you a broader array of workshops and discussions to best support the work that you do. And all of the workshops and discussions, and I'll be referencing as we go forward, are really designed to give you a practical insight as to what we do here. And so whether that, as I said, is talking to the investigators with respect to program inquiry, we're going to learn about asking ethics counselors their best practices. And so we'll have a chance to really talk and learn from each other. So the next issue or topic or value that we're focusing on is accessibility. Now more than ever, it's very important that we are accessible to our employees. We serve our employees first, but we serve the public all of the time, right? Public service is a public trust, and we all understand that when we work here not just to achieve our mission, but to achieve our mission in a way that ensures that district residents can have confidence in us. And so we think one of the ways that we can do that, or is to encourage that, is to provide better access to technology. Many of us are home because of remote operations, but others are in the field, maybe more than they would have been, maybe around the clock, maybe at odd hours. We are going to launch a mobile app so that you can always have ethics in your pocket. You can seek training, seek out a question, get some basic advice. We also are going to use that app to provide regular updates at important times. So if it's during the political season, we'll provide some hashtag guidance. If it's holiday season, we'll provide some guidance about holiday parties. So using that to really connect with employees on a regular basis. We also are seeking a training platform to allow all employees, members of boards and commissions, and potentially in the future, lobbyists or vendors to do a training program to ensure that everyone can get access to the same training and that we can track it and keep a record of that training, and also provide specialized training based on what we learn from talking to you in the agencies. And then lastly, we have received feedback about our website, and we hear you, we understand you, and we are in the process of doing a website reboot. So as Director Allen mentioned, we are very pleased to have Kavon Bridges joining us, and he has substantial experience in developing websites. And so we are looking at peer websites at our partner agencies and really focusing on ensuring not just ease of use, but making sure that you have multiple ways to connect with us and that our materials are very clear in terms of what we do. We want to make sure that you can know what's going on at Vega. Next, as I mentioned, training and development activities are essential. We have launched an ethics counselor lunch program called the Brown Bag Virtual Ethics Series. We began this series by talking about issues related to COVID-19 and whether that be dealing with new procurements or having to serve new populations or bring on new numbers of employees very quickly and get them up to speed, finding a way to assist ethics counselors to deal with those issues. We also did a session that discussed issues employees might face with respect to social protesting and the issues and how they are not quite the same as Hatch Act issues. They're somewhat distinct. And Ashley Cooks will be providing a Hatch Act presentation. And again, Sonia Gomes will provide a presentation regarding social media. And on both of those, and in both of those, we'll talk a bit about what it looks like to distinguish between advocacy and our free rights, but ensuring that, district residents can know that we are engaging in our activities, impartially and with integrity and not misusing our positions. We also are providing more job aids. So I'm going to talk about best practices. We provided a presentation on how to keep best records and when to contact, OGE with particularly difficult questions, when to refer something to us early on to let us know how to prioritize and triage that investigation for you all. And so what we've been doing is trying to really develop a program where we can begin to have regular discussion among ethics counselors so that you can not just learn from OGE, because we're happy to share what we're experiencing, but also so that you can learn from each other. And so we're often facing the same issues. We often, have a similar setup to another agency that may face those unique issues. And so we wanted to provide a forum where people could feel comfortable asking questions and speaking out. And so we're also going to provide more job aids, things that are not required, but that could assist you. Forms that you could provide to your employees if you so chose on finding out if they engage in outside activity, on finding out if or giving them guidance on when to recuse and giving them a simple form to fill out so they can follow instructions and make a timely, accurate, solid recusal. And so we want to begin and are beginning to provide you with those materials. And then next, we want to engage in more direct employee engagement. It's very important that district employees know that we care and that they can speak up. And we believe that by developing education and training and outreach, what we're really doing is encouraging, going along with that theme from last year, an ethical culture, one where people know that they can issue spots because they get opportunities and, brief bursts of education, that you don't come in on the first day, get a 10-minute training, and you never hear from a guest again. What we'd like to do is partner so that when employees come on, they receive ethics guidance and advice as part of their onboarding, not just attending the training at DCHR, but also taking an opportunity to talk to their new managers and learn if they are engaging in outside activity or have a business. Are they perhaps, in school? Are there interests, their concerns about financial conflicts, so that they can advise those employees to reach out to OGE directly? Or if they're bringing employees on into a sensitive position where they know in particular there are often thorny ethics issues that might arise. We want you to work with us to develop those specialized trainings that I referenced earlier. We also want to encourage you to make ethics a part of your outreach and engagement with your employees. Many of us are home together or spending some time electronically and meeting virtually, and I know that we're all Zoomed out. But, looking forward into the quarter, now is a good time to put ethics on the agenda. And so whether that is having your ethics counselor talk to you all or asking the director in your agency to talk about the importance of ethics to your mission and encourage you all to speak about ethics and talk about ethics, we have ideas and things that you can do. but we encourage you to find some ways to directly work ethics into the conversation. And then other things that we can do in terms of this employee engagement to encourage this ethical culture is we want to really encourage a speak up culture. And so we want people to know that although, of course, if ethics violations are strict liability violations, that, if there are technical, inadvertent, or de minimis violations, that we want to work with offices to remediate that problem. We want to come in and make sure that everyone is educated and trained. Lots of ethics violations or good kind of violations arise out of lack of knowledge. And so to the degree that those occur, we want people to feel comfortable speaking up and, saying, hey, you know what, let me just ask what the gift limit is before I do a collection. Let me find out if partnering with this agency raises an issue. And so when you raise those questions with us, we can then share them with other ethics counselors, and we begin to develop more knowledge and a more cohesive sense across our 87 district entities of having a similar mission and goal. And then lastly, we would also encourage you all to work with us to make ethics a part of the inevitable, or if employees choose to leave district service. And that includes providing more robust guidance in connection with seeking and negotiating employment, so the public can be assured that district employees are never leveraging their positions to in any way benefit others or themselves in searching for a new position. And the same with post-employment, providing guidance and encouraging you all to begin to counsel your employees before they begin to look. So that might even be a topic at the beginning of the fiscal year, letting people know, I know you all want to stay and that you love us, but to the degree you ever go, remember that there's ethics guidance. If you want to look confidentially, you can call it OGE. So letting people know that so they can get a list of the things they worked on before they left to help them in their post-employment life. They can get a sense of what kind of work they can engage in when they depart. Many employees want to go out and develop businesses or work and consult in the very subject matter areas where they work, because that's where their expertise is. And so we want to make sure they can do that in a way that assures both the public and protects their reputation. So we think that's really important. And then the last piece of our cornerstone here to put things together is being more accountable. And by accountable, I mean transparency. I have had 9 months to listen, and when I first began, our staff, we went on almost a listening tour. We talked ourselves hoarse, talking to many of you to discuss what your main concerns were, how we could support you, when to provide the best referrals, what we could do for you. But we also sought feedback. And so we wanted to know, what is it that we can do at Bega to better, assure you and to be of service to you. And we got some feedback that, to the degree Bega is seen as a black box, or OG is, we want to work to provide more data on our website. So not just having our advisory opinions, but providing you with an index of them so that you can search more regularly. Regularly providing our monthly minute meetings and our agendas, as well as any dispositions that the board enters into, so that you can know what's happening with respect to enforcement and share that information with employees if it's of interest. So if you see something and it relates to things your employees do, it might provide a teachable moment or time to have a conversation. And so we want to provide you with more of that sort of information so that you can see more of what we do, working to explain more of our policies and procedures. We began last fiscal year to memorialize and standardize more of our regular practices. And so we want to make those available to you so that you know what we are working on. And then we're looking to improve our policies. We've had to change the way we conduct some of our business here. So investigations, as you will learn, our employees took some special trainings, and we reached out to partner agencies. And then we thought really strategically about how to best ensure that we can still investigate certain matters and, developed a policy for which matters could still be investigated and which would not work in a virtual world. And then looking forward and figuring out how to proceed to best address those matters. And so we've been able to continue moving forward with our enforcement efforts by really thinking and adjusting our policy. And the same with the COOP development and taking our operations remote. That again allowed us to be able to adjust and to be flexible in our ability to best assist our stakeholders, the employees and the public. With respect to accountability, we have been working with Opto and have made tremendous strides this year. We were able to have a successful financial disclosure season where almost all but 100 of our 3,000 plus financial disclosure filers, public filers, were able to file without difficulty. We have been able to have successful lobbying disclosure seasons, and our interface has been improving steadily all along. We are in the process of offering year-round e-filing to our public officials, so we have made strides with respect to adjusting our policies in the face of the public health crisis. And then lastly, we look to improve our customer service and our focus and what we can do for you all. Part of that is just getting to know you and making sure that we are accountable, we are following up with you right away, that we are anticipating, in fact, maybe even needs. So calling over and saying, even though we're receiving inquiries that don't necessarily relate to an ethics matter, talking to agencies and strategizing and figuring out how to provide what I call ethics plus, which is making sure that we don't just, again, do our jobs well, but that we engage in good government and do it the right way. Because ultimately, when we ensure that we are able to have this ethical culture where our employees are committed to doing their work in the right way, and we know that there are lots of great employees out here who are doing a great job, then we know that we can also reduce waste, fraud, and abuse. We can reduce inefficiency. We can reduce the tensions that develop in an office when someone is engaging in blatantly unethical behavior. We can help to build the erosion of trust that we see at the national level. I did some checking and I looked at the last Pew Charitable Trust surveys, and 43% of Americans, only 43 rather, have trust in the federal government. At the local level, it's about 52%, not substantially more. But most people don't have trust in government. And so we think the way we do that is by letting people know and confirming for them that we have an open door and we are accountable to them, and that we understand, in fact, that the work we do here is, in fact, a public trust, and that we all do it to the best of our ability. And so that goes to the last piece of what we would like to offer you all, which is helping you to think of ways to incentivize and recognize and incorporate ethical conduct and recognize that in performance evaluations. Are your employees good stewards of finances? Are they speaking up and letting people know? Recognize that. And so we really want to work with you all to find positive ways to encourage people to be assured that we are engaged in a common mission. So thank you. I'm excited and looking forward to this new year. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And if not, then I would say I welcome you to a great Ethics Week. Okay. Well, Ashley, do you want to give any guidance for the next session?
Just that the next session is local Hatch Act training. It starts at 2 p.m. You can go to our website, bega.dc.gov, to register, or you can look on the course schedule, and there's a link there where you can use to register. That's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the later sessions, and feel free to reach out. I'm looking forward to continuing to serve as the Director of Government Ethics and getting to know more of you and working with you to develop ideas as to how we can best assist you. Thanks again, and enjoy Ethics Week.